I'll be the first to say that Seaside Racing is probably not worth its $2.99 price tag, but that doesn't mean there's not hope for this game yet. Well, we'll talk about how we can improve this $5 game review. My name's Coyote, and let's get to it. I understand that not every $5 or less game is going to be this amazing gem of creativity, but with this one, it definitely felt like this is somebody's first creation, and there's so much potential in it. I do enjoy the fact that there was controller support right off the way. I don't need amazing graphics in a cheap game. I understand what I'm getting, and this looks like somebody let their nephew draw in some of the art assets. It was kind of fun. I enjoyed that aspect of it. But there are a lot of issues with just using a simple game developer that we have to go over. Let's get into the start of it. When you get into any race, once you select your track from the 3 they have available, you go to character creation. These are the models I was talking about. I don't mind them being this horribly bad. It's kind of goofy, and it's kind of the appeal of the game. I would like to see more kart design. I have a better idea for this whole game that I think would work out in the long run. But it's all about this kart design. Some of the options are there, and it's kind of fun. It would be cool to be able to adjust the wheels, maybe add some flames or things like that. Before we move on to my next criticism, I do want to say that I enjoyed the music for the game. I thought it was like really relaxing to be able to ride around. It's just very chill music, and I enjoyed that. But let's talk about the fact that when you are not in a session, you are by yourself. The game could have done in by adding like maybe a couple of NPC racers for you to go against. That way you felt like you weren't just driving around by your lonesome, and it would have made it a little bit more better. It felt like you were actually trying to do a race. I do like the fact that there are terrain objects for you to avoid in the game, and they don't respawn. Once you hit them, and that's it, they're in the water. It's not like a Mario Kart where those would eventually be back on your next way through. So it's kind of enjoyable to seeing more terrain features added into a racing game. Let's talk the respawning issues. If you fall into the water or you get rolled over, you have to hit K to respawn. Now, the game doesn't tell you that right away. You eventually kind of got to figure it out, which is not a big deal. That's not a game breaker for me, but it's very easy to get knocked into the water, or where they reset you will put you in a bad spot. And down the line, there was a spot where I had to like back all the way up and hit a ramp, and that's just kind of bad level design. Maybe adjust some of the spawn points, and definitely got to smooth out some of the areas. There were spots that I thought I was on flat road, but I hit something and my vehicle went flying, and I had to reset, because when you roll over, there's no way to counterbalance that. Maybe put it to where the carts automatically just land on the bottom up would be a nice feature. It's just something to add into the game later down the line. Now, currently the game has 3 tracks. I did this track, which is actually a 2-lap track, and then the next 2 tracks are all downhill. And this is where I think this game has a lot of potential. You can actually just make this a soapbox racer, where you're just constantly racing downhill. Add some destructibility to the carts maybe, so that way you're not just running off a hill trying to get to the bottom first. There's a lot of options out there that I think would be neat. Something I almost forgot to mention is that when you actually start any new race, you got to pretty much start the character creation all over from the beginning. Maybe lock in, design your character at the forefront, and then it's just locked in, because I wanted to start the race and kind of get the review going. But for a racing game, these little maps for a cheap one aren't really that bad. The downhill ones are absolutely my favorites. It'd be nice to be racing against, like I said, even if it's just an NPC racer, you can have 2-player split screen. So if you got a buddy that wants to sit there, or maybe you got a kid cousin or a kid nephew that you want to play with, it probably wouldn't be a bad game to see. But if you're just playing by yourself because you're a lonely old man like me, then maybe you need a little bit of something. Otherwise, there's just nothing really here. All this terrain is destructible. You can actually run right through those bridges, and if you land it perfectly, you can get down there. And that's why I'm saying it'd be nice to have a little bit of kart destructibility to keep people from wanting to cheat like that. But more kart design, I think, is your biggest thing. You can leave these models, like the character driver models, bad. I think that, like I said, is an appeal to the game. But it definitely has some polishing to do before this is a game worthy of its price. And $2.99, you would think, oh, well, that's not bad for a $2.99 game. No, I'm pretty sure I could find another $2.99 game that feels a little bit more polished than this. Unfortunately, $2.99 is just not worth it. This game would probably be better being free for a little while until they kind of fix in some of the issues and add more features to it. It's definitely looking like it's somebody's first game, And I'm okay with that. I think there's a lot of potential here and so much fun to be had. Maybe if you just need something to do with some kid cousins, kid nephews, nieces, whoever, I think it's got that kind of potential right there. If you found any help out of this review, do me a solid and like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. If you want to race me on it, I'm willing to give it a shot. This has been my $5 review for Seaside Racing.